Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming in. So by at the end of the last class, we got to the roof. So at this point, we've basically drawn the structure of the house. We've added some hatching, done a little bit of detail work up at the soffit, played a little bit with line type. So I'm confident you guys have all the tools you need to finish the drawing, to finish drawing the remaining aspects of the drawing. So if there's a bit more drywall to be put in somewhere, or some insulation or gravel to be shown, I'm confident you guys know how to do it. If you have questions, of course, ask me. But I think we're safe to move on to the last few steps of finishing this drawing. So what I'd like to do this class is, first we're going to put the drawing onto a page that we can print it on. So we're going to put it onto a title block like this. You can find this example under lesson 4. So title block is basically the big frame you see the drawing in, and then there's a little bit of info down here. You can fill out about yourself, who you are, what the date is, what the project is, so on and so forth. And when we put the drawing into here, we have to tell it a scale. So in this case, we're going to do 1 to 10, and I'll show you how to do all of this. And it's going to put the drawing into this window for us. And we're going to do a little bit of work with these zigzagging type of lines. This is what they call breaks. And we're going to compress the drawing vertically a little bit so it doesn't bleed off of the page. Now once we have that, we will focus on doing the dimensions in this example. The text is okay, the way they've shown it. The dimensions are not great. So I'm going to show you, hopefully, I think it's an easier way to dimension, and it will make much more sense. It'll be much more comprehensive and give you the information, allow you to put the information on the drawing that the viewer or the user is getting. Once we do that, we're basically done for this class. So once we accomplish those 3 things, and then for the last class on this assignment, we'll focus on putting the text in and plotting it and submitting it. So, once again, for this class, we're going to put it onto the title block, scale it, add the breaks, and we're going to do some dimensioning. Now, hopefully, the first 2 things should go pretty fast. So if you go to your file, for those of you that started with the file that you downloaded from Blackboard website, you should be able to go down to the bottom left corner here and click A1 Layout. And you should get this. Does anybody not get that? Yep. So we've been working, this whole time we've been working in some, I think I just clicked the news or something like that. Sorry. Yeah. There we go. So we've been in model space this whole time. And if you go to the bottom, you should have another tab called A1 Layout. Now if you double click into this big white space inside of this frame, it should be set up as something called a viewport. So let me just double check it. I'm going to double click into it. It is not a viewport. Okay, no problem. So we're going to type in viewport, V-I-E-W, port. Sorry, my computer's having a hard time keeping up here. Let me try that again. Okay, I'm going to give my computer a minute to catch up here. It looks like it's a bit frozen. But if you type in viewport, it should ask you if you want to do a single viewport, double, whatever. Click single and basically do a rectangle from one corner to the other corner. Yeah, it's going to change the scale a bit. We'll deal with that in a second. So, okay, I typed in viewport. I'm going to click single, hit OK. And I'm going to go from this corner, not to the very corner of the drawing, but just to the corner of this view, this first rectangle, right there. And your drawing should appear on there. And yeah, it's got some really funny insulation stuff going on. And so we're going to start cleaning it up. The first thing I'm going to do, so let's just double click into the viewport first. So double click on it. And now you should be able to zoom in and zoom out and kind of change the scale on your drawing. So really what you've done is you've kind of created a special window that shows everything you're drawing. And now you can pan around and zoom in and out. I wouldn't suggest working in this window. Like, don't draw stuff from a viewport. It's a bit clunky, but this is the way you would set up your page. So first thing I would do is I'd like to turn off this grid. I don't think that's helping us very much right now. So if I go to the bottom of my page, there's like a crazy hashtag, like more than a hashtag, but this kind of waffle or grid pattern. Click on that and turn everything off. Now before I do anything to kind of shrink the drawing or change the line weights or do any of that, the first thing I should do is set up my scale. So it doesn't say it on the assignment, actually I checked. They don't tell you what scale to do it at, but just I'm going to let you know right now it's 1 to 10. So while you're in the viewport, there should be a little number kind of field down here with an arrow next to it. And if you click it, it has a bunch of scales. Now, you may not see it. So for instance, if I'm not in my viewport, I should actually tell you this, guys, right now. So now, while I'm in the viewport, I'm trying to zoom in and out, I'm kind of stuck inside of that window. If I want to get out, double click outside. And now I can zoom and move around with the whole drawing. Now while I'm outside of it, I can't set the scale. If I double click into it, I can set the scale. Now don't follow what I'm about to do, but I'm going to show you a way that people get trapped sometime and they don't know how to get out of it.
Oh, the last thing.
It happened to you? Okay. So if you zoom in right now, if I zoom in really close, so I can't see the frame, I can't double click outside of it, and now I double click into it, I'm stuck. And then people think they're stuck and they have to, they do crazy things. Don't freak out if that happens. Just go to the bottom and click model. And it'll take you back. Or no, you click model in here. Never mind, wrong model. So if you double click into it and you're stuck, go down to the bottom here and click model. It'll take you back to model or paper space, the other one, the one that you want to get into, and you can zoom out again.
The rock thing that's here too, that's crazy confusing sometimes.
Which one?
Like normally, like when you click on paper,
yeah.
You see the lock right there?
No.
It's not at the bottom where it comes over.
Oh, the lock somewhere down here. Yeah, you can lock certain things. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Sometimes.
Yeah. It can get confusing. So we'll get to those later. So double click into your viewport, and down here where we have the scale, set 1 to 10. And don't freak out. It's going to get really big. So I'm going to double click outside of the viewport, and now our house won't fit on our page. Okay. So now we get to start to shrink things down and put in the breaks and stuff. Maybe the first thing we'll do is mess with this insulation line just because it's so, normally I would do hatching at the end, but just because it's so kind of difficult to work with. I'm just going to double click in the viewport and zoom out. I'll click the insulation line, right click properties. Okay. And the scale is 6.5, so let's try 1. Let's see what that gets us. Try zooming in, a little bit big. Let's try 0.5. Huh, that's weird. Let's try 1 again. Okay. Maybe the scale is messed up. Let me try here again. Right. Okay, I made a mistake. I zoomed in and I changed the scale. So when you zoom in inside of your viewport, you end up changing the scale. My mistake. So I have to go back to 1 to 10. And now I can click it and mess around with it. So I'm going to try 2. It's giving me more trouble than I expected. So 0.6 seems to work. So if you are at scale 10, then the line type scale for your line should be 0.6. And so now I can close this and use my paintbrush to pick the one I like and to hit the one that I want to change. And I can slowly change all of the line types. Now careful when you're in this viewport, the minute you zoom in and out, you'll change the scale. I'm going to change the basement one to 0.4 maybe. And as soon as I'm done, I'm going to click Model to leave, and then I can zoom out. Is that okay? Is that making sense? Sometimes it takes a while to get used to the different. Okay, so hopefully we're comfortable with this now. Yeah. report? Double click? You don't have it. Okay, it's okay. Type in the report. Did you have one before? Single? Okay, so we've got our drawing set up, but we have a bit of a problem in that we can't fit the whole thing onto our page at the scale that they want. So I'm going to double click outside of the viewport, and now we can go back to our model space. So, well, get out of here. Okay, model space. And we're going to start doing what they do in the example. So, for instance, at the footings, they show 1, 2, 3 and a bit blocks, and then they have a break. Then they show one more block and another break. Okay, that's a lot of breaks. I wonder if we could do this in a simpler way. So overall, they show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's call it 7, including the last one, 7 blocks. So in our drawing, maybe we can do 1, 2, 3 at the top and 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. So I'm going to grab a line. I'm going to switch line types first. Maybe I'll switch to annotation. So red, a anno note. And so we want 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit. So maybe we put the line right there. Give it a little stretch. There we go. And I think we want 1, 2, 3. So we might want another line somewhere here. And so now what I can do is I'm just going to type in trim, and I'm going to trim these parts out. Now, one thing to keep in mind, your insulation hatch is going to look tiny at this point. If you zoom in model space, that's okay. This is one of the funky parts about AutoCAD where you scale things in paper space and they look weird in model space, or you scale it in model space and it looks weird in paper space. There is a way to get around it in later years that you'll learn called I can't remember it now. What is it? Annotative objects. So there's a tool called annotative text, annotative objects that will scale automatically between the two. But I think you would learn that in year 2 or 3. But instead now you're just going to go straight to AutoCAD, to Revit, where it's not an issue. So we're in here, we're trimming, and so this may take a little bit of time. With hatches, you kind of have to trim. You have to click on it, on the specific thing you're looking to trim to make it disappear. Sorry?
That's one of the top.
Oh. So once we have that gap cleaned up, I'm just going to click move, and I'm going to pick all of the rest of the house and just move it down a little bit. And I messed up a bit because my hatch is now moving with it. There's another way to do this that would prevent that, but I think it's more complicated to set up. So I think what we're just going to do instead is I'll trim this hatch. Or maybe I'll just take this whole hatch and move it out of the way. And I'll do another hatch. And copy it to the first one. So just any old hatch, take my paintbrush tool, pick the hatch I like, and make the new one like that. And now while I'm here, while I'm in this close view of this, people sometimes spend a lot of time making these squiggles, these squiggly things, the breaks look perfect. I found that it doesn't really make much of a difference. Just what I would suggest is just kind of go in, kind of eyeball one, and then just copy it to keep it consistent throughout. I'm gonna. There's a command for the break?
Yeah, break line.
Break line? Okay, so we can use that. There is that too, I forgot. Or maybe not. So you can use break line. It's been a while.
You're gonna have to zoom into it and then
Stretch it up.
Yeah.
So you can do that. That's actually that sounds pretty good. I'm just gonna eyeball this one. Actually, maybe break line would solve this issue of the hatch overlapping this. So let's try it again. Okay, so to do the brake line, thank you for that suggestion actually. So that this is going to save us a bit of time. So we're going to type in brake line, so BREAK line. And before you proceed, at the bottom here, click size. That's going to help us set up the size of the brake that we want. And then we don't have to spend time customizing it. So size. And for me, it was set to 0.05, and I reset it to 100. So I'd suggest set it to 100 for the size, and then simply click from one side to the other side. And then for the brake, it asks you where do you want the brake, so just pick the midpoint, and that's it. And then you can delete the first line that you had. Now I'm going to copy it down to here, and I'm going to delete the second line. You can see in some places the patch is still overlapping the part that we don't want it to a little bit. I'm going to leave that for now. We can solve that later on in the viewport window. That's a relatively minor issue, so we're not going to worry about it right now. So we've compacted the basement. Now for the first floor, they've got, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 4 or 5 at the top, let's say 3 or 4 at the top. So they've got 10 bricks, and then they leave about 3 at the top. So I'm going to click copy, and grab this line, and move it to about the 10th brick. A little bit above the 10th brick. And then I'm going to copy one more somewhere below the 3rd. And just like before, I'm going to trim out the stuff in the middle. I accidentally deleted my hatch, but I'm going to want to copy that after. So instead, for now, I'm just going to move my hatch to the side. Okay, I'm going to move the rest of my drawing down. rehatch my bricks. Okay, and the last place we may want to cut it is at the second floor, about the same height as the first floor, and then just below the soffit line. So I'm going to copy my break lines one more time, actually just one at a time. Okay, and now our drawing should be quite a bit shorter. So I'm going to go back to our paper layout and see if it fits. Oops. That's pretty good. So this would be okay. If you want, you could take out another block or a little segment somewhere else to get a little bit more breathing room. But this is probably about the limit of how big I would say you can have it on the page. Okay, so the last question? Okay, so once we have this, even if you don't have all the breaks and stuff in place, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to show you guys how I would dimension this drawing. And what I would do first is I would go and do all of the finished floor, we talked about FFE finished floor elevation. So I would do the 3 finished floor elevations and then maybe the bottom of the ceiling joist. So 4 kind of big lines. So one would come out here and have a little bubble. Well, let's start with this one. So the first bubble would come out here and have a little bubble, and it might be, let's say we put the ground somewhere down here, so it might be a few hundred millimeters above the ground. The next one would be a negative one, so this one would be minus 2,000 something. This one would be plus 2,000 something, this one would be plus 4,000 something. We'll do the math right now. And then from there, from those big lines, I will do all of the other dimensions kind of branching off of that. And that gives the drawing a lot more clarity. I'll show you what I mean. So first I'm going to switch my layer to A anode dimensions. So architectural annotative dimensions. I'm just going to grab a line and draw it, let's say, out to here. And I'm just going to set it up. Actually, let me see if they already set it up for us. Maybe they did. No, they didn't. So I'm going to grab, this light blue is not the best color. I don't think it's showing up very well on the screen. So I'm going to change it to something else. I'll change it to dark blue. Maybe that'll show up better on the screen. Can you see that? Not really. Delete. Okay, let's try that again. A little better? Okay, you can see it. So then I would take a circle. Okay. Extend this out to here. Trim the bottom of the circle off.
You know there's a command for that too.
Is there? What command do you use for that?
I don't remember it, but there's a command for it. Like, I don't remember what it's called.
For the elevation? Okay. Well, the next thing we want to do, if you remember, let me know. I'd be interested to know. So I'm going to set our text height. We've got a bunch in here. Just going to try one. So I'm going to click text, multi-line. And for now I'm just going to go in here and type 4 zeros. We don't know, we'll punch in the numbers in a minute. We'll do a bit of math. But right now we just want to have these set up. And that's a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be. So I'm going to click it. And I think the scale they might have set up for us. Maybe there is a 10. That's huge. Nope. So
Yeah. You go in the two panel, and then you go and annotate to the third one. Like because even the section code is
which one do you use in here?
the two palette,
Okay.
and then you go and annotate. You can also get like the finances and stuff there too.
Okay, neat. I'll look at it later and I'll update the video with it. Thank you. So what I've done right now is was everyone okay? Maybe I'll show people how to put down text. So I'm gonna click this text, delete it. I'm gonna go under home, there's an annotation spot here. And under there you can click text, and I would say text, multi-line text is what I usually use. And I just click and kind of make a window, and I can type in there. So I'm going to put 4 zeros for now, and they're way bigger than I want, so I can customize them. So I'll click on it, right click, go to properties. Right now it's 25. I think I'm going to want it about the third of the height, so let's say 8. I can always adjust this later. And I'm going to put it in there. Now for here, I'm not sure if I want it going all the way in. I'm going to just end it a little bit shy of my drawing, of touching the actual building. And we should probably change the line type on this. So I'm going to right click, go to properties. Actually, before I do that, no, that's okay. Right click, properties. And I'm going to change the line type to, I think it's center that we usually want for this. I don't know if I have it loaded, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to do LT like we did before, line type. Load center. Now, nothing happened there, so I'm going to go back to properties, and the line type scale is 4.5. I'm going to try making it smaller. I'm going to say 1. Okay, so it showed up a little bit. Maybe I'll go to 0.5. Okay, I'll clean this up a little bit. Now I'm going to copy this. So from where it meets my first floor to where it's the finished floor elevation over here. Over here and over here. Now I want to make sure all these bubbles line up, so I'm just going to draw a line of where I'd like them to be. and then I'll delete that line, and then I'll go in nice and tight and just kind of by eye offset them a little bit from the face of the building so they're not exactly touching. So now if I zoom in, we're ready to kind of add some numbers in there. And if I zoom into our example drawing, 150 millimeters below the top concrete block is where we have our soil. So we're going to make that 0. So I'm going to go back to my drawing. Going to draw a diagonal line, and then I'm going to move it 150 down. And if I want, I can kind of do that earth hatch underneath it. I'm just going to do a temporary outline here. I used to have one called Earth. Do you still have it? There we go. So we know that, sorry, let's go back in here. Okay. So when the soil for that block is 150, then I need the measurement from the top of the block to the top of that piece of plywood to give me the dimension for that first line. So I'm going to type in DI for distance and measure from there to there. So 288 plus 150 . $438. And we can add a bit of text here. At a smaller scale. Maybe 4. And say ground floor FFE, so finished floor elevation. for the basement, we know that to the top of the concrete blocks, it tells us right here. We're going to the top of the floor, so this is 2150, but I believe it's to the bottom of the drywall above. Doesn't exactly tell us. Okay. So from here it's 2,000, from the bottom of the top of the footing, it's 2,400 millimeters to the top of the blocks, plus the number we measured before. So we don't exactly want it from the bottom, from the top of the footing. We want it from the top of this concrete floor. We know that's 100. So we're going to subtract that from this. So 2,400 minus 100 is 2,300. Plus this distance. 288. So 2,300 plus 288, 2,588. Sorry, that was the wrong measurement. We don't want it to here exactly. Well, we do, you know what, we do. But it's for a different reason. So I'm going to take a dimension and go between both of these. It's way too big. Nope. Okay, we don't have the right dimension style set up, so we're going to deal with that next. Um, $2,300 minus 150. Basically what we're trying to find, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. I'll show you what I'm trying to do. I would like to get a dimension from the top of this floor to 0, which is where we set the soil. So we know the soil is 150 millimeters below the concrete block. And we know that from here to the top of the concrete block is 2,300. So 2,300 minus 150 is 2,150. Okay, go to let me get in here. So minus 2150. Okay, back to our drawing. We go from one finished floor elevation to the next is 2707. So clear 2707 plus our existing height from our ground floor 438, 3145. And we can copy the text. Second floor FFE. Now to the bottom of the joist. It is 2440 plus 60. Sorry, 2440 plus 16. So 2440 plus 16. Okay, is that number 2456 plus 3145. 5601. So here we can copy this one last time. And we can write something like underside or U/S underside of ceiling joist. Now I know that was a lot of work, but really what we've done is we now have these, some people call them datum lines or elevation lines, but from ground level, we now know what the height of each important part of the building is. And so it makes, from here, it now makes sense to dimension things out. So if I'm going to dimension this floor out, I can do it on its own, like a little island of dimensions, how thick the plywood is, how thick the joist is, how big the piece under it is, and so on. But it's kind of floating in space, and no one, I've told people how to assemble this floor and what the sizes they are, but no one knows how this floor relates to the ceiling above, to the next floor, and so on. That's where we had our trouble figuring out the floor-to-floor height. We had to keep adding numbers up. Here, if I dimension it all from here, like if I do all of these dimensions, people know the string starts from this line, and it's much easier to figure out the distance to the other parts of the building. So the last thing we're going to do is set up our dimension style for this. Actually, I wonder if they do give us a dimension style here. I think. Yes. So this dimension style is arch dim 10th scale. So instead of dimensioning stuff in paper space, we can now do dimensions for the smaller stuff in model space. So I can switch to dimensions. I'll change the color so it looks easier to see on the black background. And so now, before I start dimensioning, I'm going to go here and change it to, I think it said the 10th. Something with 10th. These are all the dimension styles that are set in here, so I'm just kind of scrolling through them to see which one it is. And I can't find it. Okay. What is this? Arch 10th scale. Okay. Arch dim 10th scale. Okay. So I seem to have found it. And now I can just take the dimension line. Say OK, and I can start dimensioning things. Okay, if I want to do a line of dimensions through, in our paper space, we know that that big dimension, the datum line, comes to here. So as long as I dimension stuff to that point that I connected to there, we'll understand where in the drawing it's occurring. So here I can put a dimension line from here, from bottom. I'm going to go from bottom up because I'd like it to land. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. Sorry, my computer's lagging because it's recording while I'm drawing. So, okay, from one part of the joist to the other. Why is it off? Okay, for some reason my drawing is a tiny bit off, so I'm not sure if it's scaled incorrectly or something happened to it in between saves, but what I'm gonna do is just tell the dimension style not to round off. So I'm gonna go to annotate, click on this little symbol next to the style. This gets kind of, there's a lot of steps here, so, but it's being recorded, so you can follow this if you want. Modify. Sorry, it's being slow. And precision, I'm going to say just 0. Don't round it to the nearest second decimal, just round it to the nearest millimeter. Okay. I was hoping you'd do 235. I'm not sure why I did that. Okay, I'm not sure why my drawing appears to be 1 millimeter off everywhere. If yours is giving you the same issue, let me know, and I'll help you fix it, but hopefully it's not. And if I want to move these later on, I can. If I want them to be closer to here. If I want to change where the number lands, I can simply click on it and hit the grip of the number and move it around like that. And so now if I go back to my layout, my dimensions are not showing up, so I have to check why. I think it has something to do with the annotated scale. If yours, okay, I'll fix mine, but if you're having the same issue where you've done dimensions in model space and they don't show up in paper space, call me over and I'll help you out. There's a few things that could be, so it might be different for everybody. But anyway, this is how we would slowly move around and dimension the drawing. So we're going to do the big datums from here, and then I'll slowly, once I fix this issue with it not showing up, I would slowly start dimensioning the rest of the drawing from here. And that's how we would get all of the dimensions on. So this is how you would slowly start to lay out the dimensions as you go. So if you have an error, yours are also coming up with your mine, probably won't help you do anything. Otherwise, just start doing the same, just follow the examples. You kind of provide breakdowns of the inside of the walls, you can provide the critical dimensions to, in this case, to this line, along with just referencing to the finished elevation. So those two will line up. And just follow the examples to put dimensions where they have them. For me, I am off for some reason by 7 millimeters here in this dimension. So I don't know, I need to go back and see where we have a discrepancy, where I made a mistake or where we made a different decision and try to fix that. And slowly I'm going to move through the whole drawing, providing dimensions like this. And that's it. Then the next class we will focus on doing the text in a similar way and plotting it. And you're done. So I'm going to leave it there for today, and I'll come around and help people. Let me just pause the video so it doesn't drag on forever. And